We're a good 5 episodes into this series now, and that means that the tiny little projects I need to do are starting to build up. These are things that are not big enough to make their whole own episode about, but they're also not small enough for me to just do them randomly off camera. So in today's episode, we're going to go ahead and knock out a whole bunch of these little projects. And to start off with, I've made a list. This is every little small project I could think of to do, so I'm just going to work my way down it and see how many I can knock out in this episode. The first one is paths. Pretty much, I want to connect up the different parts of my base. I've got 3 buildings so far, and they each look pretty good in their own rights, but they're very disconnected. In between them is just either snowy grass or frozen rivers, so instead, I'm going to make a nice path that goes from my starter base over to my workshop, and then a little bridge across the river to connect up the sheep farm, and it should make everything feel a lot less like isolated builds, and a lot more like an actually cohesive base. And I've already gone ahead and made a little design in the same style as this path, just mushrooms and grass all over the place with a couple spruce trees thrown in there. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and build it. And of course, I'm using the schematic cannon for this build because it just makes it so much easier to be able to design it in Creative World and then kinda just have it print itself in my survival world. Of course, I still had to gather the resources myself, which for the size of this build took a shockingly large amount of time, but it's still way easier than placing all of this by hand. And then just like that, it's done. We've got a nice little pathway, and seemingly this time the schematic cannon has messed up. This block should be a spruce slab. Like, it definitely is in my schematic, but it's not here. I wonder if I didn't give it enough resources for that? No, there's a spruce slab in here. That's wacky. The schematic cannon, never messes up. I think that's, actually the first time I've ever had that happen to me. Okay, either way, that's the bridge done now, actually. We've got a nice little path. I think it looks really good. I'm super happy with this path, despite the fact that it's, not even that complicated. I think I did a really good job. And we've got a little bridge here. I went through a billion iterations of this bridge, and this is the best one, I think. It's kind of weird in that it's just flat slabs across the ice, but I tried replacing the ice with packed ice to make it look like there was just sand thrown on the ice or something, give it a little bit of traction. I tried a more substantial bridge, but I think this is the best. This was the best of the things I made. I think it looks pretty good. And then honestly, the best thing about this path is I've managed to make it so snow will not accumulate anywhere on it. Everything is either lit up by a lantern enough that it won't get snow on it. It has a light level of 10 or above, I think, or it has a little bit of grass or a mushroom on it, just something to prevent any snow from accumulating. So this entire thing should stay this way forever. And now that we're done with that, it is time to cross it off the list and move on to the nether portal. My nether portal, it's right over there. It works, it's fine. It's also really, really ugly and looks kind of just weirdly out of place to be over here. Although, then again, it is in kind of the ugly area of the base with random oak trees and a not very good looking farm. But I want to move this to a different location and also pretty it up a bit, specifically right here. I've left this area next to the path intentionally a little bland, and I'm thinking I'm going to push back the dirt here so we have a little bit more of a stony cliff face and then make a little cave or a little crevice in that cliff face for the nether portal to go into. And this build should be pretty easy to make, so easy in fact that I've already made it. It's just a little extension to the path, a little hole in the wall, and then a place for another portal. And that looks pretty good. The only part of this that gave me any trouble at all was that I had way less room than I expected. I have this redstone contraption here almost immediately as part of my create workshop, so I had to rewire that a little bit, so now it just goes around the nether portal a bit to activate those dispensers, but it still functions and we have room for the nether portal, so that works perfectly. And I think I've already destroyed my old nether portal, and I'm pretty sure this is close enough that if I hop in here, it should still link up to the center of my nether hub up on the nether roof, and it looks like we're all good there. And I think it should also work the other way around because the old portal's gone, and as long as I don't build any other portals in my base, these two should be linked just fine, and I don't have to move the center of my nether hub around. So now that that's done, we can go ahead and check it off the list and move on to Susan. Susan is a snow golem, because I need a lot of snow for my builds. I use stacks of snow layers and snow blocks in every single one of these roofs, and there's only really one super great way to farm a whole lot of snow, and that is to mine snow at the feet of a snow golem, which instantly replenishes, and it just makes for a very fast way to get a whole lot of snow. Previously, Susan was just in a little dirt enclosure pretty much right where my nether portal now is, but it was quite ugly, and obviously it's not there anymore because I built a nether portal. So I'm going to make Susan a much nicer looking little enclosure in this little area, the last bit next to my base that I still have yet to flush out. And I haven't decided yet whether or not I want to make a cage for Susan, or if I actually want to make a nice little environment for a snow golem right here. But honestly, I don't have a whole lot of room to make a little snow golem zoo enclosure, so the living conditions for Susan might not be the best. Yeah, I've made the design and I'm printing it at the moment. It's pretty small, so it probably won't take that long. And Susan's living conditions are not gonna be good. I realized in designing this that I kind of have to have her confined to just 2 blocks so that I can really easily mine the snow under her feet, which means she does not get a whole lot of room to walk around. And it's not like I really had room for her anyway, so that's kind of fine. Anyway, the build is pretty much done now. It just needs a couple finishing touches. Firstly, a little bucket of powdered snow there, just to make this look like a snow farm, a little bit of ambiance, and I think... So actually, no, it's blocked by the roof. Thought for a second that might actually fill up with powdered snow even if I didn't put a bucket in there, but it will not. And then, obviously, we need Susan, and I haven't really made this thing big enough to summon a snow golem in, because it needs to keep her so constrained. So we're going to go ahead, break it a little bit, put that in, and that didn't... Do you have to place the head last? Okay. I'm going to hope that that's the problem, and not that I'm just not allowed to build a snowman. Good. Okay, Susan's in. I don't have a name tag at the moment, so you're just going to have to, remember that her name is Susan. But I've said it enough times in this episode that hopefully that won't be that hard. And there we go. That is a full snow golem enclosure. And now, what I can do is I can take my shovel, push Susan away a little bit so I can actually get at the snow at her feet, and I can just do this. And miss. There we go. I can do this, and it just creates a ton of snow. And if Susan wasn't standing so close to the edge of the little thingy, I could mine both of these pieces of snow at once. Then they replenish so fast, I could just hold down click here, and I just get a ridiculous amount of snow in seconds. I have just gathered a stack, almost a half a stack of snow blocks, which is kind of crazy. So that should solve my snow gathering problems pretty much forever, and it looks a lot prettier than the last time I had a snow golem here. And now that is another item off of the checklist. In fact, I've kind of completed this entire little area next to my base, which is super nice. It all looks all finished and stuff now, which I really like. I like just having a nice base to walk around in. And now we're on to the next item on the checklist, which is netherite. And actually, I've already done the hard part of getting netherite, which is the mining, because in the last episode, I built this elevator that takes you from up here on the nether hub down to the very bottom of the nether, where you can mine netherite really, really quickly. It's super nice to not have to use a ladder for this. And in between episodes, I have done a little bit of off-camera mining. And by a little bit, I mean oh my god, this took me hours. I have mined not just all of the netherite out of this entire area, but just about every block out of this area. And I did do this with an automatic mining machine, but even then, it took a while. And because of that, I have a whole lot of ancient debris. It's all here in my drill dock. This is the giant mining machine in question, and I have just about 5 stacks of ancient debris. I guess almost 5.5, and I was originally going to do more than that, because, when I came up with the idea of I'm going to do just a ridiculous amount of mining off camera, I was like, oh, let's do an amount that I can say I have enough netherite for a netherite beacon, because that'll make for a funny joke. And then I realized a netherite beacon requires 100 stacks of ancient debris, and I gave up on that idea and stopped at 5.5. But this is enough that I can definitely upgrade all of my armor and all of my tools. But problematically, we're playing in 1.20, and I need a netherite upgrade template. So that sounds like it's time to go on an adventure. Luckily, I already found a bastion in the last episode while I was gathering magma cream for fire resistance potions, so I headed through the basalt delta back over to that one. Unfortunately, this one is a housing unit style of bastion remnant, and that means it's not guaranteed to have the netherite upgrade template we're looking for. It's only a 10% chance per chest. If we wanted it to be guaranteed, it has to be a treasure room. But I decided to loot it anyway, killing a good few piglin brutes in totally fair fights, and overall I found 5 chests. The first one had pretty standard bastion stuff, but nothing too interesting. On the next one, I managed to get the snout banner pattern, which I probably don't actually need, but it's cool anyway. And then after 2 more boring chests, I managed to get soul speed in my 4th and pig step in the 5th. So a pretty good haul, although I didn't manage to get the upgrade template, so I headed to the next closest bastion. This one was a treasure room bastion, which means I was guaranteed to get the netherite upgrade template, which I did, along with a pretty good amount of diamonds. And with that, I headed home to put all of my goodies inside of a chest. But then I realized I had gotten every single piece of unique bastion loot except the snout armor trim. I got pig step, I got the banner pattern, I even got soul speed, and it kind of bugged me that I didn't have the armor trim. So I went to a third bastion, but all it gained me was 2 more copies of pigstep. So I went to a fourth bastion where I got my 4th and 5th copies of pigstep, but still no armor trim. And finally, at the 5th bastion I went to, which was another treasure room, I got the snout armor trim in my 33rd bastion chest. It is a 10% chance to get this thing. I should only need to get 10 chests per to get a snout armor trim. So this was very unlucky. But either way, after finally gathering every single piece of unique bastion loot, I headed home. So I'd say that was a pretty successful nether adventure. I got a couple of copies of the snout banner pattern, which I'm pretty sure you literally never need more than one. 5 copies of pigstep, also very useful. Got the netherite upgrade template, I got the armor trim, and I got soul speed 3, which for now I'm just going to put in a chest because I'm not going to put it on these boots that I'm planning on just slowly wearing down and breaking. It kind of goes for the rest of this stuff too. I don't really need that, or, the banner patterns, or really the armor trim even. But I do need the netherite upgrade templates. I think it's time we actually start upgrading our tools, so I'm going to go get smelting on some of this ancient debris. Which luckily with this smelter should be a kind of ridiculously fast process. This thing just goes way faster than a normal blast furnace does. And yep, there we go. I just have to do that 4 more times. And now I have enough netherite scrap to make a full stack of netherite ingots, which I totally need, and that definitely isn't way too much at all. But then again, like I said earlier, I don't really plan on keeping any of these tools or armor intact, so maybe it's a good thing that I'm making way too much. Now, I need a smithing table, and I get to show off my favorite little contraption that I've made in my base so far that I don't think I've actually shown on camera, which is this button, which changes that to a smithing table. You can also change it to other crafting stations as well. It just cycles through them. But I just have a smithing table right there. And I just realized actually I need to duplicate these netherite upgrade templates first, which I think, is it 7 diamonds per duplication? Yeah, it is 7 diamonds per. That is kind of ridiculous, honestly. But like I said, I have a whole lot of diamonds, and now they're all gone. And I have 12 smithing templates. That is a pitiful amount for the stack of diamonds I just put into that. But whatever. Now I can finally get upgrading on all of my tools. Oh, that's great. But I'm not going to upgrade this armor. Actually, I'm going to upgrade the pants. But the other 3, I'm not actually going to upgrade yet because the crate mod adds in a much better alternative to netherite armor. If we go ahead and search for netherite in the search bar here, you'll see there is netherite diving helmet, netherite back tank, and netherite diving boots. These can be upgraded from the netherite helmets themselves, but I can also just upgrade it from a copper diving helmet, which it's really simple to make, and that kind of goes for all of these things. They're really just not that complicated, and what this set of armor does is straight up lets you swim in lava with no drawbacks at all. It is just as good as normal netherite armor, with the added bonus of you get to swim in lava. And also water, I guess, but I feel like that kind of pales in comparison to just permanent fire resistance. Well, I suppose it's not actually permanent fire resistance. You do have to provide this copper back tank with power. You'll see it has this little durability bar at the bottom. You have to actually get that to full, but I think you can get up to 30 minutes of fire resistance without using a potion at all, so that's still pretty darn good. And now that I have all of those, I can go ahead, put that and that in, and we can upgrade them to be netherite, theoretically. Okay, it does not let me shift it into place. At least it didn't for the back tank, but apparently these ones I do. And now I get to look completely ridiculous. Like, seriously, look at this armor. It's so goofy. Although I do gotta say, I really like the hoglin snout, or I guess it's a piglin snout on the front of it, but it makes me look a little bit ridiculous, so I am not going to be wearing this constantly. And before we move on to the next item on the checklist, I have to actually get this back tank charging, because it doesn't really do a whole lot if it doesn't have power. And unfortunately, I don't have a good place to put it down in here. I should probably fix that, get a little permanent charging station, but I think for now, I'm just gonna come in here and hook it up there, and that should should be charging. I don't know how fast it goes. This is, of course, maximum speed. If I put it down for like that much, oh god, it takes ages to mine. Okay, I wonder, okay, it's done. I'm guessing that's what that particle effect was. Good. Yeah, so it takes just about 5 seconds to mine, and now I can scuba dive underwater, under lava, and yeah, pretty much invincible for the 30 minutes that this thing lasts for. And I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't test it out, right? So, welcome to the Nether, and ignore the fire resistance potion I have in my inventory. I am 100% sure this will work, but there is actually something I want to test out. I've gone ahead and made a normal pair of netherite boots, because the thing is, when you use this, you sink really fast. You saw how, like, really quite quickly I got to the bottom there, and when you use this stuff in water, you can't really swim with it, but it seems like in lava, that's a different story. But that was the reason I had my normal boots, to see if they would let me swim, because normally if you take off the diving boots, you can swim in water. But now I'm kind of just curious. Gonna hold that and see, do I burn up if I switch that out? Oh, no, I don't. Oh, but I am way slower. Okay, we are keeping the diving boots on. Yeah, that is quite a stark difference. Anyway, that's a fun little addition to my tool set now that I can just kind of survive down here. And the no fog effect is not because of the diving gear. It reduces fog slightly, but this is a mod I have. It removes the fog from the nether, but also removes the fog from, like, everything. So there's no fog under lava, there's no fog underwater. It's honestly a little annoying, but I can't figure out how to configure it to not do that, so I just have to deal with having no fog anywhere. But now that this stuff has been fully tested, I think we can check it off the list and move on to the workshop. The workshop is a building that I have already built. It's this one, and it's pretty much done. Now, I mean, I do, like I said earlier, want to modify it so I have a better place than just under this cogwheel to charge my diving tank. But that's not why the workshop is on this list. The reason it's on this list is it's kind of ugly. I love this bit. I think this looks great. I love this bit. I think this looks great. But the transition between the two is a little horrible. It's just kind of instant. There's not a transition. It doesn't really exist. So I want to try and fix that. And I've come up with a sort of plan in the 2 episodes it's been since I actually built this place, which is I'm going to remove these 2 blocks of the, like, nice wooden area and try and use those 2 to fade from one building style into the other, and we'll see how it works out. But I'm gonna go mess around with some things in a creative testing world, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, thoughts? I feel like it looks pretty good. I've made the floor kind of bleed into the other floor with a nice little some slabs and some stairs. The ice encroaches a lot more now. I think it looks really great. I've only done it on one side just to, like, compare and contrast, and compared to this looks way better. I don't know if it's just because there's more ice now, and I really like the ice building style a lot more than the, like, nice wooden stuff, but I feel like this looks great. I've also gone ahead and added the addition I was talking about, which is just a little place to charge my back tank, and I've added a stressometer just because it looks kind of cool, so that's there too. But I think, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and copy this, or not literally copy, but copy the style over to this side so that they both match, and I think that'll look, yeah, this looks way better. There we go. That is both sides all nice and prettied up, and I'd say that is this project done. And the next one is farm, and I'm not actually going to do that in this episode. When I originally added it to the list, I just wanted to pretty up my little farm area over here, because it's pretty ugly. I mean, it's just about as, like, basic as you can get. Put some dirt around, some water, and put some plants on it. But I've realized that whenever I make this farm look nicer, I want to make it a lot more functional too, because currently this farm is farming the ingredients for vegetable soup. But the thing is, Farmer's Delight adds in much better foods than that, like shepherd's pie or glazed ham, or I think stuffed pumpkin as well, and I'll want this farm to automatically produce one of these, just so I have a, like, fully automatic farm for one of the best foods in the game. And that is definitely a full episode worth of work, so I'm going to leave it until next time, and I'm going to go ahead and end this one here. So for now, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe while you're down there, and I'll see you next time.